The Newport Seafood and Wine Festival. It's one of the top events along the Oregon coast. People come from all over. In fact, some of our viewers I know were there this past weekend that came from out of state. It's an event where everybody has a great time. In this quick video, I'm going to show you what it's like. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to this channel, living on the Oregon coast and you'd like to know more about what it's like to eat, sleep, play, work, all the pros and cons of living on the Oregon coast, and in this case, one of the better events that we have along the Oregon coast, make sure and hit the subscribe button. Also tap that bell, that way you'll be notified every time we drop a new video, which is every week. And as licensed brokers in the state of Oregon, as much as we like making these videos, we'd love to help you move here. If you're somebody that's thinking about taking the next steps and moving to the Oregon coast, you can call, text, email, or click the link below in the description of this video to get into our calendar and schedule a Zoom call with us. No matter how you get in touch with us, we've got your back when it comes to moving to the Oregon coast. So the Wine and Seafood Fest takes place every year in February. We had a little lapse in 2021, and things are a little bit different last year in 2022 due to COVID, of course. 2023 is kind of our first full year back, only one tent this year instead of two. We'll get into that a little bit later in the video, but at least the event was back. This event takes place over 4 days, a Thursday to a Sunday. You can get tickets for just a single day or all 4 days. Here's the schedule right here, and you can see right there, Thursday, the beginning of the event was actually canceled due to extreme weather, that extreme weather being snow and ice. Not very common along the Oregon coast, really uncommon, frankly, and consequently, snow along the Oregon coast and a lot of other places in Oregon, like PDX, the Portland metropolitan area, isn't really common. People usually aren't prepared for it. It's one of those weather things you never really know if it's coming or not. Sometimes they say the snow's coming, it doesn't. Sometimes maybe we don't anticipate very much snow, and then we get something like we had recently. So usually people aren't super prepared for the weather. So when it does come, it usually catches people a little bit off guard. Usually don't have the vehicles or the traction devices to deal with it. So end up with a lot of cars, in the ditch and stuck. So that's what happened this year. So we didn't actually start until Friday. I believe people that purchased passes for Thursday were allowed to use their passes for other days. Here are the ticket prices. This Ruby Club membership, this is like a VIP type of membership. Definitely came in handy, I'm sure, this year for people that didn't want to wait in line. So you can buy a 3-day pass or you can buy a single-day pass, a little bit more expensive, as you can see. I would suggest buying these passes in advance rather than at the door. This year, like I mentioned, there was one tent. In the past, there were 2 tents, and so because there was less space due to fire code safety, they're only allowed to let a certain amount of people in. So when we got there, which is about mid-afternoon, it was 10 people out, 10 people in. So they had to wait for 10 people to go out before they can let 10 people in. There was probably about 300 people or so, maybe more, when we got there in line, which is different from years past. In years past, usually there was virtually no line. So that was a little bit surprising and disappointing, but the good news was it didn't take as long as we thought it might take. It looked like it was going to take hours to get in there. Probably took about 30 or 40 minutes. Once you get your tickets, or if you have your tickets, you'll get scanned at the front door. You probably also want to get a commemorative wine glass for $5. Now, you don't need a glass. You can bring your own. A lot of people do that. There's plastic cups in there too for the vendors, but a lot of people like to get the $5 commemorative glass and use that for the entire time. And yes, it is made out of glass, so when you drop it, it will break. And during this festival, I would say on average about every 15 or 20 minutes, you hear a glass drop and break, and then you hear a collective "oh" from the crowd. So I didn't catch any of that on video. Kind of have to be lucky to catch that on video, even though it happens so frequently. But that's kind of a funny little thing that it kind of surprised that they don't replace those glasses with something plastic. Obviously, broken glass all over the floor is a little bit of a hazard, but they seem to be pretty good about cleaning that up quickly. So here's one of the really great things about the Wine and Seafood Fest: free shuttle bus. Obviously going to be really important, right, when you got a lot of people drinking and drinking for a long period of time. all over town. You know, there's definitely a vibe during the Newport Seafood and Wine Fest. See a lot of people walking around town that are kind of noticeably there for the Seafood and Wine Fest. How do you know? Well, they're oftentimes dressed up in costumes, or another thing to do is to get like matching t-shirts, sweatshirts. The costume thing is real big, like you see this guy right here, dressed up as a airplane pilot that is blind. You know, that he's got a blind walking stick there. So, you know, a lot of funny stuff like that you'll see walking around town while the festival is going on. Let's take a look at the map for the buses. So there's actually 18 different stops. So mostly around Newport. They do go down to South Beach, a couple stops down there. I think that 21 is actually supposed to be an 18. We did actually go to that stop while I took one of the bus rides while I was here. So there's a lot of different places where these buses are going to pick people up. You can see right here, kind of a higher concentration. This is where a lot of your accommodations are going to be. So this schedule is very specific to where they believe, you know, most people are going to be staying and you know, picking people up. You can see here are the shuttle route times. Bus, it says approximate stops 45-minute to hour intervals. It does tend to come a little bit faster than that in my experience. This year felt like it was a little bit longer. In the past, it felt like it was like every 15 to 20 minutes. I don't know if they had fewer bus drivers this year than years past, but didn't really feel that long. There are also a lot of taxi cabs you'll see. It seems like the taxi cabs come out of the woodwork for this festival. I don't know if people are coming down from Lincoln City and Depot Bay or coming up from Yachats and Waldport, but there's a ton of taxi cabs around too. I also saw some volunteers around too, which was really nice. I saw one person just driving around that was stopping and offering to give people a ride for free. Hopefully people pitch them some gas money. This year, I think this was new. I don't recall this in years past, but there was a center stage with a schedule of a handful of different people that were putting on different shows or different offerings on that center stage. And it looks like you got Local Ocean Seafood, which is a restaurant in Newport, probably one of the higher rated restaurants in Newport and probably on the Oregon coast. It's definitely a favorite for a lot of people. A few other vineyards here as well. Not sure what Sons of Beaches is. There's a Sons of Beaches on the northern Oregon coast, the Clatsop County Sons of Beaches, and that's a group that's dedicated towards helping people that get stuck in the sand that are driving between Gearhart and Warrenton on the northern Oregon coast. It's a common thing. People get stuck a lot. So common that there's a lot of locals that are sort of just dedicated to helping people get unstuck. So I don't know if they're teaching like winch safety or something like that, but this was kind of a new added little feature for this year. Here's your list of sponsors. There are quite a few different sponsors. If you want to go to the website at newportchamber.org, just Google search Newport Seafood and Wine Fest. One thing that was probably one of the more popular things, pretty common, is this is actually a garlic cone, like an ice cream cone, and that's a crab mac and cheese. You see people walking around with those quite a bit. I think that's pokey, and that is mashed potatoes and short ribs. Now, as far as vendors go, you've got a vendor list up here. There's about 150 vendors. So these vendors are all going to be vineyards, restaurants, and then arts and apparel, I suppose it would be. Probably how you would categorize it. This is all going to be local stuff. So I believe that pretty much all the vineyards are going to be from Oregon. You might find one or two from Washington. I don't think there's any from California. So if you want to see in advance who's going to be there, come to the vendor list. And if you want to be able to find these people, there's a map right there where you can match their number to their table. If you want to know more about the wine, here are all the wines that are featured and a little bit of information about them. And if you're somebody that's wondering, if you're not really a wine drinker, if you feel like wine is kind of like an uppity, snobby, pretentious thing, just so you can kind of know what the vibe of this place is like, that's not the case at all. It's very laid back. No question is a dumb question. And there is also a beer garden, which is right here, over here by the rest area, which was put on by Rogue Brewery. If you're not familiar with Rogue Brewery, you will be when you go. It's right next to the tent. Great spot to check out too if you've never been there before. They had a few cocktails as well. They weren't mixing cocktails, but like a few canned cocktails, like a mule, for example, Moscow Mule. And then this space out here, that's an outdoor blocked off space where you have your restrooms, as well as if you need a smoke break. So a lot of people out there Some people, as you can kind of see, some people brought chairs. Some people bought chairs, actually. Those chairs that you see right there, those fold-up kind of camp chairs, somebody was telling me they're $3 a piece, and I said, $3 to rent? That's not too bad. He said, no, $3 to buy. Probably should have bought one while I was there. I can't buy much for $3 anymore, let alone a chair. And then finally, you got a seafood list right here. I know local ocean seafood was there. I'm not sure why they're not on this list. Clearwater is a personal favorite of mine. We typically go to Clearwater almost every time we go to Newport, or at least if we're in Newport for a couple of days. You're going to notice Clearwater when you go downtown. They're right off of Bay Boulevard, and you can't quite see it right here, but there's a little pier that a lot of people like to walk out onto. And used to be to see these sea lions. These docks recently were washed away in a storm. There's efforts to replace those docks, but the sea lions have sort of since relocated to a jetty, which would be kind of over here. If you could see, if you had a panoramic view, it's kind of a little bit further up the bay in Yaquina. You can still see them here from Clearwater, and of course you can hear them. You can hear them from a long ways away, but no longer just right there outside of the back deck there. So if I had to describe the vibe, is I kind of, let me walk you through a little bit so you can kind of see what it looks like. It's a very easygoing, very laid back vibe. Kind of some of the stuff that you worry about at events like this, like people getting too drunk and being stupid and annoying, irritating, stuff like that. Really haven't seen that much in years past, despite the amount of alcohol that's being consumed. There's a lot of staff there that's helping out. You have law enforcement, obviously. So you don't really see anything too crazy. You don't really see any people getting too out of control, other than like the crazy costumes and stuff like that. So I'd say all in all, it's a really fun, upbeat event. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's on the same page. There's definitely like this vibe for the entire weekend, because again, like just walking around town, you're going to see people wearing their matching sweatshirts that they made specifically for this event. So it is really, really fun. And again, it's one of the many reasons why it's one of my favorite events along the entire Oregon coast. Hopefully we'll be back to 2 tents next year instead of 1 tent. We won't have that line that we had this year. Last year we didn't, technically we had the festival last year. The festival was put on, but we didn't have the tents. You had wine vendors that were set up at various different restaurants or points or locations around town, and you were supposed to go to one of those restaurants just to go to see one wine vendor. Which if all the restaurants were like down on Bay Boulevard and all right next to each other and it was all walkable, that would be one thing. That wasn't the case. They were all spread out amongst around town. So if you wanted to go wine tasting, you'd have to go just to drive to place to place to place. Which again, that's the reason why we have the shuttles here. You don't want a bunch of people driving around under the influence. And then the year before that, 2021, it was canceled due to COVID. So this year was kind of the first real year back with the tents since COVID. It was great, lots of energy. I'm sure we'll be back next year like we are every year. And if it looks like something that interests you, I would definitely encourage you to go. So I hope this video gave you a little taste of what, again, is, in my opinion, one of the better events along the entire Oregon coast. If you have questions about moving to the Oregon coast, you can call, text, email us, or click the link below in the description if you want to schedule a Zoom with us. And if you want to see more videos about what it's like to live on the Oregon coast, make sure and hit the subscribe button. And if you like this video, hit the like button. It helps us out. Leave us a comment if you want to let us know. Maybe you were at the Wine and Seafood Festival. Let us know what you thought. Maybe what's your favorite thing about it. Maybe there's something in this video that wasn't in this video that you want to share. So feel free to weigh in on the comments. And until next time, take care, everyone.